Over the weekend, Axios reported that pharmaceutical giant Gilead sent a batch of an investigational drug to treat the coronavirus to China. That came after requesting but not receiving federal approval from the Department of Health and Human Services. That approval is required by law. Caitlin Owens was one of the reporters with that scoop. She is a healthcare reporter for Axios and joins us now. Caitlin, thanks very much for being with us. What is this drug meant for?
So this is a drug that would be a treatment for the coronavirus. It's investigational. It is not approved yet anywhere in the world, and Gilead has experimented on using it for other infectious diseases like Ebola, SARS, MERS, things like that, and has not been approved for those uses. So the point was to send, and is to send this drug, remdesivir, to China to begin doing clinical trials there to test its effectiveness against the coronavirus.
Right, and so explain, why did the company need federal approval from the Department of Health and Human Services for these trials?
So, the U.S. monitors exports of drugs, and especially those that aren't approved. If you're going to put a drug into interstate commerce, put it on a plane and send it to China, that there's just laws around that about the rules for exporting. And even more so than that, the United States has a very distinct interest in making sure that these clinical trials in China are performed well. We want good data coming from there. We want to know if things were done safely and effectively and in a controlled situation, so that, if and when we can use this drug, we have confidence that it would work on our own population. So I think HHS takes monitoring these things very seriously, particularly, in this instance, when it was about a clinical trial.
So, Caitlin, how did the Trump administration react to the company's decision to ship the drug to China before it actually had secured that approval?
In the course of our reporting, I think there were really kind of two mindsets here. And from what we heard, there were people within the Trump administration that were not thrilled that Gilead sent this drug without approval. They thought they should have waited. HHS told us that federal officials were minutes away from discussing its authorization to send the drug before the company called them and said that the drug was on a plane to China. That said, there are also officials in the administration that think that HHS was slow to grant this approval, and that while this would have been kind of a normal process in a normal time, that we're in an emergency situation here, and getting a treatment on a plane as airlines shut down flights to China should have been a top priority and should have been expedited.
So, Caitlin, is that the reason Gilead gave for sending that drug without approval from HHS, because that window appeared to be closing to get planes into China?
Yes, that is what our reporting said. Gilead, in its statement to Axios, did not go into detail about that. But, yes, that's what the administration officials were telling us, that Gilead was saying, please give us this approval. Flights are shutting down. The president was talking about travel bans, and the administration were taking steps to limit travel to and from China. And aside from that, airlines were saying that they were canceling flights to and from China. So I think that, from what our reporting was, is that the company did feel a sense of urgency to get that drug on a plane, get it to China so it could start those clinical trials. And, there's the question that maybe at all, maybe if it was, I think there was a little bit of concern at least that flight would be totally shut down, flights would totally be shut down, but also just because for running a clinical trial, time is of the essence.
So the Trump administration, as you know, says it is focused on getting coronavirus test kits out to cities and states that need them. You've also been reporting on how much those tests cost. How much is the White House also focused on that factor?
I think that affordability is kind of on the White House's bucket list of things to be watching for. We haven't seen any explicit steps been taken about that, although, there's reporting out there that this is something being discussed even today, such as the issue of paid leave. But as far as affordability of the diagnostic tests themselves, we're seeing more action there in the private sector, where we're seeing insurers say that they will cover the test without cost sharing. Now, granted, and then states are saying that they'll cover the test and the associated provider visit with the test or they're ordering insurers to cover that. But as far as the Trump administration taking action to A, make sure the tests are covered, and B, to make sure that the provider, the doctor or hospital's visit associated with that test is covered, at least in the private sector commercial insurance versus government administered insurance, we haven't seen a ton of action there.
All right, Caitlin Owens for us. Caitlin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.